Hi, this is Robin Nielsen, Chief Wellness Officer here at PCOS.com. And today we're going to do a little cooking in my beautiful kitchen. You know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So we're going to focus on one yummy breakfast item today. It's actually waffles. And they're grain-free, they're gluten-free, they're dairy-free, really healthy, yummy, have some good protein in them, some good fiber, and they're very delicious. So let me show you how to make some beautiful waffles, and then I'll show you how to make a quick and easy topping for the waffles that are very low in sugar. So everything is also really low in sugar, which is super important for PCOS. So we know for PCOS that we want higher fiber, lower sugar, grain-free as much as possible, gluten-free for sure, dairy-free is really important, and these waffles cover all of it. I want to give some credit to Daniel Walker from Against All Grain. She has a beautiful website, and that's where I got this from. I always modify recipes slightly, so it'll have a little touch of Robin in there. All right, so let's get started. I have some great things. The foundation are raw cashews. So get yourself some raw cashews, and we use a cup of raw cashews. And the cool thing about this recipe is you actually just throw everything in the blender and blend it up. So sometimes we think of waffles as taking a really long time because you have to whip the egg whites. Not in this case, super duper easy. So we use a cup of raw cashews, and then we actually use coconut flour. I always get organic. Coconut flour is really high in fiber. It's a very dense flour, so you usually don't use a lot. So we just use 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. All right, there we go. And then we use some coconut oil. I just get it at Trader Joe's, it's organic. And we use 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. So pretty easy to remember, right? 3 tablespoons of coconut flour, 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. It's funny though, as much as I've made this recipe, I still sometimes forget something. But you can tell by the consistency when you blend it up if something's missing. Pretty easy. We'll do 1 more tablespoon of coconut oil. And coconut oil is a fantastic oil. It's a saturated fat, but it's called a medium chain triglyceride. So we actually metabolize it a lot different. We can utilize it right away. It's a great antimicrobial for your gut. Coconut oil is pretty fabulous. I also use it on my skin. Oh my gosh, it's so nourishing and so silky. So coconut oil is pretty useful. Okay. So then what's next? I'm going to use about a teaspoon of baking soda. You always get the aluminum-free baking soda. And then, because we're around the holidays, you can see my cute little pumpkin here. We're going to make it pumpkin-y. So instead of using maybe some cinnamon and vanilla, I'm going to use some pumpkin pie spice. So pumpkin pie spice is so cool because it has cinnamon in it. And cinnamon, we know, is really great for helping with blood sugar, for regulating blood sugar. I use kind of a lot of this because it's so good. So you can also make your own by just using cinnamon, ginger, ground ginger, and some little bit of nutmeg. So just make it, and you can Google on making your own. I'm going to actually add 2 rounded teaspoonfuls of this, but you can add as much as you like. Then this is where I kind of go off on my own a little bit. So in the original recipe it calls for some sugar, but I just use like half a banana to give it a little bit of sweet. That's plenty. And then we use coconut milk, and we use a half a cup, but the coconut milk you can actually use to the consistency that you like your waffles. So I use either the So Delicious coconut milk, which is unsweetened, or you can also get the canned coconut milk. Just get the pure coconut milk. And I'll start with a little more than half a cup, and we'll see how we do with that. It's a pretty thick batter. And then we use 3 eggs. We're so fortunate here. We have a local local egg ranch, and it's Glom's organic cage-free. So look for organic cage-free when you go to buy your eggs. Super good for you. These happen to be really big eggs too. So you put 3 of these in there. 2, 3. All right, we've got our 3 eggs. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of sea salt in. So we're going to put a little sea salt in here. And when I say a little bit, a 1/4 teaspoon is plenty. 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. And I think that that is everything. So we have our eggs, we have our cashews, we have our baking soda, our pumpkin pie spice, our coconut flour, we have our coconut milk, and we have our coconut oil. So I think we have all the constituents we need, and then we added a little bit of organic banana to sweeten it. All right, so now we're gonna blend this up, and then we're gonna pour it in the waffle iron. And while the waffles are cooking, we're going to make a yummy holiday syrup. All right, so now we've blended this up. Our waffles are ready to go. You wanna blend it for a little bit so to make sure that you whip the eggs enough and to make sure that all of the cashew chunks are ground really well. And it's kind of a nice consistency. You know, it's not too thick, it's not too thin. It's gonna make nice, big, yummy, fluffy waffles. Okay, so now we put it in our beautiful Cuisinart waffle iron. Okay, I'm gonna close this up. And while that's cooking, we're gonna make a low sugar topping. So let's see, and I wanna make it holiday, so we're gonna try to use pumpkin today. This is an experiment, but you can use any kind of berries. Blueberries are my favorite. And you actually just put the blueberries right in a little pan like this, little pot. And then I use some pasture butter. So this is butter that's made from cows who ate grass or pasture. I use Kerrygold. You can get that at Trader Joe's. There are all sorts of different kinds. You can even get cultured pasture butter, which is fantastic. So instead of putting the butter on my waffle as soon as it comes out and on my plate, I put it into this pot. The topping for your waffle is really important because that's where all the sugar comes in. And this, you know, if you eat a breakfast full of sugar, it just sets your day up for hormonal chaos. So you definitely don't want to do that. So, you know, don't eat sugar for breakfast. You want your breakfast to be a little bit higher in protein. So you could actually add some little sliders, and I'll make that in another video so you can see how to make that. But I just put a slab of butter in here, because I want my waffles to be very buttery and delicious. And then I'm gonna do a holiday thing. This is pureed pumpkin. It's kind of a cool carton. It's organic, of course. You can also get it in a can. And it smells so pumpkin-y. And pumpkin, we know, is a great carbohydrate, right? It's a low or slow, low carb. So I'm just gonna put a chunk in there. Remember, this is a complete experiment, so we're gonna see how this turns out. And then I'm just gonna put it on the stovetop here. We're gonna melt the butter. Gonna let that melt for a minute. Okay. I'm gonna get just a little bit of honey to put in there, and then I'm gonna use stevia. So actually I'm just gonna use a tiny bit. And when I say a tiny bit of honey, I mean a tiny bit of honey. So literally, let's see, let's make this, so 1 teaspoon of honey, that's plenty. And I used about 3 tablespoons of butter, and I used about, I want to say, 1/2 half a cup of the pumpkin puree. So 1 teaspoon of honey, and then I'm going to taste it and see, because we might need a few drops of stevia. And I have some orange stevia here that's really delicious. This is sweet leaf stevia drops, so give those a try. All right, my waffles are still cooking. So I'm just gonna stir this up a little bit. Had to run and get my little special teeny tiny whisk. I'm going to add a little bit more butter because it's making more like a jam. So one more tablespoon of butter. Okay. All right, now we're going to check our waffles to see how they're doing. Oh, beautiful. So you can see that they turn out really, really pretty. Yep. And they're pretty fluffy. They're really beautiful. You can see how fluffy they are. Yeah? Okay. Put the rest of the batter in here. So you have some good protein with your eggs, you have some good fiber and some good fat with your coconut oil and your coconut flour. And of course butter, and the cashews have some nice fats in them and some good fiber as well. And let's see, and then our carbohydrate is our dressing, and a little banana is in there. So we've got good proteins, fats, and carbs. So I'm going to put a waffle on here now. I'll put a waffle in there, and then I'm just going to finish stirring this up. Instead of honey, you can also use grade B maple syrup. That's really delicious too, and it's so good for you. Just a little tiny bit though is perfect. And a good cook always tastes what she's making. So we're gonna give this a little taste here to see. Very pumpkin-y. Very pumpkin-y. So you can put a little bit of pumpkin pie spice in. For the holidays. And remember, you can do berries. Blueberries I like the best because you don't need to add any sugar with those. Just put frozen blueberries in with some butter and you have a beautiful topping. And I'm just going to put a couple drops of stevia to make it a little sweeter. It's pretty sweet now, but you might want it just a little sweeter. So now you've got this really yummy pumpkin buttery syrup for your waffles. So you can just put a little bit, just spoon a little bit right over them. Oh my gosh, this is very unusual, I have to say, but an amazing breakfast. So now you have this beautiful waffle. See if you can see that, okay? So this beautiful waffle with a very untraditional pumpkin syrup for the holidays. And again, if it's not the holidays or you don't want to try the pumpkin, just use berries. Berries are fantastic. All right, that's it. Enjoy your waffles.